Hello. Let's see. All right, oopsie. There we go. Okay, this is the test, not of the emergency broadcast system, but I am trying out Zoom to see if I can run a video here. Okay, so my name is Sonia. I'm one of the reference librarians. I am going to try to capture what I would normally be doing in person. So this is intended as a library instruction session for Professor Sultan's first year writing 102, where the assignment is a research paper, a problem solution essay research paper on a health or medicine topic, which is quite apropos. And before things got to be as bad as they are, I thought, oh, well, I'm going to use a search example of a pandemic. So with that topic, let's get started. So this is the Sawyer Library homepage. And you can get here from any suffix screen by pointing to academics, libraries and archives. We are the Mildred F. Sawyer Library, and that'll bring you back to our homepage. I'm going to start out by scrolling straight past the one search box down to the databases drop-down menu and go in by subject. And I'm going to scroll down almost all the way to the bottom to the social sciences section. And the first thing I want to open up is the general social sciences list. And there are two databases here that I want to point out that are good ways to get started. The first one is called CQ Researcher. This is actually a single publication. It started its existence in print, known as CQ Researcher. Let me just click here, continue down there. So you can browse, if you don't have an idea already, you can browse through topics, but it works pretty well just to use the search box. So if I search for the word pandemic in this database, which again is only this single publication, so I'm not going to get millions of results. So we have, let's see, 47 reports here or articles. And I'm going to look at the first one here, Pandemic Threat from 2017. So what you have here is actually a very informative article that makes for interesting reading that typically follow this type of table of contents. So the intro, the overview, the background, all this is really well written, very interesting to read, and will get you up to speed on whatever topic it is that you're working on. So let me point out a couple of useful things here. There's the pro-con section. Let me actually just going to scroll through this so you get an idea of the types of things that they have. They usually have some type of graphics, whether it's maps or statistics, but they do a lot to kind of put the large picture in context. And as you scroll down, you should expect to find where they pose a particular question and then argue it back and forth. Should governments mandate quarantines? Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. And they they argue that back and forth. Now, if I were to use this database or this article, then I need to cite it. I need to have the citation for my list of works cited. So there's a button right here that says Cite Now. If I click this button, I'm going to look for the MLA citation, and then I can copy and paste this into my document. Now you are going to have to do the final touches of the formatting, but at least you have the components that you need for your citation. You can also email the article to yourself as well. And you'll see right here, they have this issue tracker. Well, they'll point to additional reports on similar topics. And sometimes, depending on here's a topic, a report on virus research from 1970. So, it's interesting to trace back how some of these same problems have been with us for a long time. All right. There are a limited number of simultaneous users for CQ Researcher. So when you are done, please click the logout button so that if there's a backup of people waiting to get in, they can do that. Okay, let me go back to my list of databases. And a similar database in spirit, so to speak, is one that's called opposing viewpoints. And that is right here. Opposing viewpoints does what it says. It gathers multiple, it will try to also look at two sides of an issue. You can run a search in here, but you can also go all the way to the right-hand side, click on where it says Browse Issues, and then you will get a list of topics. And you may find the topic that you're interested in just listed right here. Now, as it happens, pandemics is not among them, but there are other health topics that are here. E-cigarettes and vaping, for example, cancer, healthcare legislation, HIV/AIDS. So there are a variety of topics to choose from here. I'm actually going to scroll down and look at the e-cigarettes one. There we go. So e-cigarettes and vapor products. And then what I have now is an overview essay, which I can get to. And these essays are not as extensive and not as terrific as CQ Researcher, but they're not bad. And they're so a decent enough way to get started. And again, like before, if I use an essay, I need to cite it. Here is my cite button, and I can capture this citation, copy and paste it, and put it into my document. And I can email this article to myself too. Now, if I go back, what is unique about this database is even though it appears on the screen that this essay is the only thing I have from clicking on e-cigarettes and vapor products, not true. If I just scroll down a little bit, what I have now is a selection of articles of various types: academic, scholarly articles, opinion pieces from things like CNN. If I scroll a little bit further down, I'll have some reference books, materials, or newspaper articles. I may have some statistics. There's audio, there's video. So there's a variety of different types of sources, which you can then gather for your research paper. And again, once you click on any of these, be sure to look for the cite button if that's something that you're going to be using. Okay. All right. So let me go back to my list of databases here. So let me now close up the general social sciences and point out that we have a science section. And as it happens, there is some overlap in the databases. So some of the databases, like Academic Search Complete, is going to be mentioned in multiple categories. But I wanted to point out that we have a health sciences category. I'm going to be looking at Academic Search Complete in just a moment. But I want to also point out that there are a couple others that you may be interested in using, such as the Gale One-File Health and Medicine and Medline, which is going to look and behave just like Academic Search Complete, but this is specifically medical literature. Okay. So let's have a look at Academic Search Complete, which is something you may actually even used already in other classes. So if I want to run a search in here, I have to come up now with my own search terms. I can't just look for topics and point to a topic from a list. So if I look for the term pandemic, then it finds lots of things. It finds over 24,000 items. I don't have time to sift through 24,000 items. So I want to try to narrow down my search. And as we all know, one of the responses, or seemingly one of the main responses to a pandemic, is to put people into quarantine, either on a voluntary basis or otherwise. So if I add in this concept of quarantine and type my terms in these separate boxes using this and, what I am doing is I'm saying find all the articles that talk about pandemic, and we know that that's 24,000, and then find all the articles that talk about quarantine and find me the intersection of those two sets. That's what the and is doing here. So let me run my search. And so now I have a mere 332 articles. And the one I want to show you is right down here. So race to get ready. So here is information about an article. It should link me to the full text from this button right here. The abstract tells me a little bit about what this article is about. So it was written a few weeks ago, pointing out rightfully that nobody is really prepared for this. If I use this article, I need to cite it. So I'm going to look for my cite button, which is all the way over here on the side. I click cite. It will take this article and gather the components that I need for my citation in MLA style. So copy and paste this, put it into my document, and I can go ahead and email the whole thing to myself too. Now, if for some reason you wanted to capture the link, do not take the link from up here. The link from the box up here is generated in the moment that you run the search. Instead, what you want to do is capture the permalink. So in the moment when I click on this, voila, a little box appears. This is my permanent or permalink. So this would be the link you would want to capture. Now, having found this article, maybe I want to try to get more that are similar. So I can have a look at the subject terms. Turns out there's a subject term for pandemics. There's a subject term for virus disease transmission. I decided that I'm interested in the concept of quarantine. So if I click on this, it runs a brand new search for me, forgetting everything that I have done before. So you should be aware of some other features that you can use to manipulate your results. Let's assume that your professor has told you that you need to have at least some sources that are from scholarly peer-reviewed journals. That would be the highest level of scholarship. So importantly, things like articles from People magazine will go away. People magazine is not scholarly. So I'm going to go ahead and click peer-reviewed, and that brought down my list of things. And to make your lives easier and save you some time, go ahead and click off the link to say, let's just limit my results to those articles that are in fact in the full text and completely available to me in this database. And so now I have a list of just under 1,000 items. And here's one that would be completely appropriate. It's from the American Journal of Public Health, ensuring compliance with quarantine by undocumented immigrants, public health versus politics. So again, the full text of the article is here. If I use this article, I need to cite it. Scroll down to find my citation in MLA format. There we go, right here. I can email the article to myself, and I can make use of the subject terms. Now, what happens if I have multiple terms that I may want to combine as synonyms? I can't pronounce that, sorry, synonyms. So if I'm interested in the idea of quarantine and pandemic, but maybe people have been referring to epidemics. So what I have done now is I still have my subject heading of quarantine. I would need this concept as the subject, but I don't care whether the word pandemic or epidemic is being used. I'm going to say that for now, to me, for right now, these two words are basically the same, even though they're not, but I'm going to say they're close enough. I don't care which one of these two words is being used. So I'm going to run my search again. I have a selection of results. They are already, the database remembered to look for scholarly sources and remember to look for items that are in the full text. And then here's another one from the American Journal of Public Health. It's better to prepare than react. And they're looking back at the great flu epidemic right after World War I. So that is essentially how this particular database works. Start out with a keyword search, combine topics using one concept per box. Most of the time it's going to be fine just to have a word here and a word there and use the and, but if you have one concept that can be described by two different terms, then you can use the or. Now if we go back to my list here, and I will point out Gale Health and Medicine, and let's do a search in here for pandemic and preparedness. then you will see that automatically what you see first are the results from the academic journals. And then if you wanted to see results from magazines or newspapers, then you would click on the appropriate links. Now, as it happens, all peer-reviewed journals are in fact academic journals, but not all academic journals are peer-reviewed. So if you wanted to be extra careful to have peer-reviewed journals as the source of your results here, then you need to click that box. And as it happens, it didn't change very much in this case. Okay, so I could, let's have a look at this one here, preparing intensive care for the next pandemic. This is something written this past fall. Here is my cite button. So you have a variety of options here for yourselves. Okay. All right. Now, in addition to articles from the databases, we do have books. So let's go back to the Sawyer Library homepage. And again, I'm going to scroll straight past the one search box for a moment, down to the books drop-down menu. I can start with this little widget if I like, but I wind up in the catalog anyway. So here is the catalog, and I'm going to run a search now for infectious diseases. And I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to look for psychology and an asterisk. So what is that? So right I have now is I got the concept of infectious diseases. And since I only have one box, I am typing my and. And then here, I'm looking for the root of the word psychology. So I could say I'm looking for psychology, psychological. And my thought here is, what are the psychological implications of having rampant spread of infectious disease? So I'm kind of trying to turn this around a little bit and look at it more from psychiatry, psychological counseling stance. And of course, if you make a mistake typing, then you get no entries. So let's try this again. Sorry. Diseases. Yes, psych. Let's just go for psychology. There we go. Okay. The one I want to show you is right here. Psychiatry of Pandemics. This is a book that is being delivered online. So you don't actually have to come into the library to find it on the shelf. The links to the books will work just like the databases. If you are off campus, you will be prompted for your Suffolk University email username and whatever password that you use to get into your email. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and since I'm on campus, I do not have to log in. And it should bring me there, but it's not. Okay, there we go. So here is my book. I'm getting asked to say yes to cookies. That's fine. Here are the table of contents. Let's have a look at this chapter here, the psychology of the pandemic. I can download this chapter, which appeared right over here. So I have it as a PDF file. And having found this, you're not going to be able to go back. There we go. Having found this chapter, I have a cite button. So I can actually even get the citation for this chapter. That said, you're going to have to choose one of these options here. Let's see if we can get the RefWorks option to open up. So this is really not what I wanted. Sorry. Cite chapter. Abstract references. About this chapter. Open with. All right, I'll investigate this later. If worse comes to worse, the information, got it. Okay, sorry. Here we go. So there's your citation. All right. And then going back to my catalog, let's find something else here. So here's my original landing page for this book after I got lost looking for the citation. And let me scroll down. If this were normal times and you were able to come to the library easily, here is a book that's actually on the shelf upstairs. So you would find this book on the shelf under this call number. And having found these books, then you could look at, diseases, psychological aspects, sociology of disability, etc. And you can see right off the bat, ebooks have this little blue icon that says ebook, very small. Physical books have the open book with the red bookmark displayed on it. All right. And the last thing I want to point out is back at our homepage, the one search box. So the one search box will look for all of the books. It will look for articles from many, but not quite all of the databases. So this has got both good and bad. It will always find you something. So let's look for coronavirus. And understandably, at this point, we have lots of things here, over 110,000 items. Depending on the topic that you've chosen, you may actually find a convenient research starter, kind of an overview essay from an online encyclopedia. So if I were to look at this, I would get kind of a little bit of an overview, perfectly acceptable. There's my cite button. But again, it falls to you to look carefully at your results. So here's something from Time Magazine, a reputable source, but not scholarly. Here's an item from People Magazine that's probably not appropriate for a research paper. And then here's one from what is actually a medical journal from the United Kingdom, and this is a scholarly source. So I probably would want to go ahead just to be sure to limit my results to peer review, and that will limit my results also to articles because the peer review designation refers to articles. And now I have an abundance of materials to look through. Okay, so I apologize for my clumsiness looking for the citation and just generally trying to handle a new format. And I am now going to try to stop this video. It's not working either. Okay, stop share. Okay, how do I end this? End meeting.